Sylvia's son, Marcel, got married, and the reception was here. And usually on a special event like that, Sylvia does her magic with her flowers, and she usually writes a song. And Frank does a piece of art. And the piece of art that he did for Marcel's wedding was this floor. He painted this floor, and look at this design. It is fabulous. The intricacy, I mean, look at, he had different levels and different textures to work with. And he is such a precise artist. So Frank and Sylvia asked if Brooke High School would like to perform a play in the barn. And I said, sure, we'd love to perform a play in this barn. I think they thought we would perform it on the stage. But when I saw this floor, I loved it so much, I was smitten with it. And it had to be something about MC Escher. I mean, what else could it be, you know? So the wheels started rolling, and I was researching and so on. And then, you know, after I finished the play, almost finished the play, lo and behold, I learned that there's an actual family member living in Stittsville. George Escher is living in Stittsville. Now, I wrote the play with 4 narrators, and they tell the factual story, the chronological story of MC Escher, but the scenes with the family in it, the scenes are my fabrication. So when I heard that George would be happy to attend and listen to our play, I was very humbled because, you know, I fabricated his family. And it's the real thing. So I am very humbled for that. It was great. He told me in an email that he'd be happy to learn new facts about his family. So we're going to start our play now. The kids are all ready, and we'll give the camera a little bit of time to get the floor since it was the inspiration for the play.
We've spent time studying the pictures of Maurice Cornelius Escher. His pictures fool our brains into thinking that water can run uphill,
that fish can morph into birds, and that you can climb staircases forever.
Maurice Cornelius Escher was born on June 17, 1898 in the Dutch town of Leeuwarden in the province of Friesland.
He loved to see images in the clouds and he sketched compulsively.
School was not a fun experience for Nault. Mathematics and art were the only 2 subjects he excelled at. In secondary school, his art teacher taught him how to do lino cuts, and that changed his life.
At age 15 in catechism class, Nault met his lifelong friend Boss Kiss. Out of school time, Boss and Nault spent hours experimenting with printing techniques. Nault's health was not good. He was painfully thin and he tired out easily. His parents and the school allowed him to leave school in order to enroll in the School for Architecture and Decorative Arts in Haarlem. At that school, his teachers saw his talent and he was allowed to devote himself to developing his woodcut prints.
It was during and after this time that Maurice got the bug to travel. His very favorite place to travel to was Italy. He loved to sit in the countryside and sketch the small towns and the hills.
But one place he was drawn back to over and over again was the Alhambra Palace in Spain. This palace had beautiful Islamic decorations. Maurice was inspired by the tessellation, the regular division of patterns on one plane.
While traveling, Moritz worked hard at developing his woodcut prints. Every day he sketched. He kept diaries of his drawings. It was a happy time for MC Escher, and he wrote many letters back to his family and friends in the Netherlands.
In 1923, as Nault was preparing for his first one-man show in Italy, he met a young woman named Jette Umeker. He fell in love. It was very difficult for him to stay focused on his first exhibition.
I brought you something.
Thank you. You're most kind.
I'm having a show of my work next weekend. I was wondering if you'd like to come see it.
What type of work do you do?
I've been traveling throughout Spain and Italy. Every day I see beautiful scenery of little towns nestled into the hills. I sketch what I see, then when I get back to my room, I make a woodcut print. One day, as I was sketching in a cafe in Siena, a man approached me and asked to see my sketchbook. When he saw my work, he asked if I could show some of my woodcut prints in his little art gallery for 3 days next weekend. I would love it if you could come see my exhibition. It's my first one.
I would love to see your work. How do you make a woodcut print?
You start with a block of hardwood August 18th, 1923. Dear Father and Mother, my first exhibition was successful. I sold all but 4 woodcut prints and several of my sketches. I was surprised at all of the wonderful comments about my work. I know you think this extra money will help pay for more traveling, but I have decided to stay here in Florence for a time. I have met a lovely young woman. Her name is Jette Umeker. She is visiting Florence with her family. Here, her father is here on business. Mr. Umeker is a German Swiss industrialist. I know you will like her, the Umeker family. They are good people, and I know you are going to love Jette when you meet her. Your loving son, Nault.
In November of that same year, Jette and her family moved to Rome, and Maurits followed them. Maurits Escher and Jette Umeker were married in the town hall in the month of June. The following year, in 1924, they honeymooned in Switzerland before traveling around Europe. Then they bought an apartment and settled in Rome.
Escher worked very, very hard to produce 2 more exhibitions. One was held in The Hague. This was his first showing in his homeland. The second was held in Rome with the Association of Rome Engravers. Both exhibitions got good reviews and sold many pieces of work.
On July 23, 1926, the Escher's first son, George, was born.
18th, 1928. Dear Boss, today is a very special day. Yetta gave birth to our second child, a baby boy. We will name him Arthur. When the family is strong enough to travel, we will go visit you and our family. I trust you are in good health. It seems that I'm getting weaker the older I get. My work continues to pay the bills, but I do get discouraged as it does not seem to stimulate me. Until we meet again, your friend, Malk.
It was several years later that the Escher family traveled to visit friends and family back in the Netherlands. While in The Hague, Maurits went to see the wood engraver Foco Mace. Foco Mace showed Maurits how to use the end grain of wood for making his prints. The family returned home to Italy. Maurits went straight to work developing this new technique. George was getting to the age where he could watch his father, and sometimes even help him.
Life was changing in Italy. On every street corner, soldiers with guns were stopping to ask people personal questions. Sometimes things got rough. The Escher family decided they must move.
Mother, why do we have to move?
Have you seen all the soldiers out on the street lately?
Yes.
Sometimes they can get pretty nasty. We don't want to be around when that happens, do we?
Yesterday, when I was riding my bicycle home from school, there was a man and his son playing musical instruments and singing. I often see them on that street corner. I usually stop to listen to them because I love their music. Their little dog Chloe is always sitting right beside them listening. Yesterday, two soldiers drove up in a truck. They grabbed the man and his son, and they threw them in the truck. The soldiers broke their instruments, and one of the soldiers kicked Chloe. I think he broke her jaw. Why is this happening, Father? Why are our streets so unsafe now?
Our government is being led by a man, and his name is Benito Mussolini. He is a dictator. This means he doesn't want anybody opposing him, and anybody that questions him will be automatically assassinated. Mussolini has joined up with the German leader, Adolf Hitler.
Yesterday when Mother and I were at the market, I saw another boy my age and his mother. They were wearing big yellow stars on their shirts. I wanted one of those, but the boy said he didn't know where I could buy one.
No, my son, you don't want to wear one of those stars because that means that you were Jewish.
And that man, Adolf Hitler, the German leader, wants to kill all the Jewish people. He doesn't like people that were born in the Netherlands. He also doesn't like musicians and artists and other minority groups. So it is best we leave.
Where are we going?
I have tickets for a train ride to Switzerland. Your mother's family's there. I'll leave you safe in Switzerland.
Let's go!
The family rented an isolated farmhouse in the Alps, very close to Lake Geneva in the southern part of Switzerland. They settled in. Maurits continued to work very hard. He learned that one of his prints, the Nonza, won third prize in an exhibition of contemporary art prints at the Art Institute of Chicago. This was MC Escher's first exposure to the North American community.
Maurits Escher's work was selling. He was getting commissions, but he felt anxious. He knew something was missing in his work. He knew he had to challenge himself in some way, so he been done before. He organized a voyage on a boat. This would calm him and allow him to stimulate his creative thoughts.
In the summer of 1936, Maritz made a deal with an Italian shipping company. He would make woodcut prints of their boats and shipping businesses if he could sail on any of their ships in the Mediterranean. The company agreed. He could disembark at any port he chose. You find a lovely spot to sketch for the day.
Hold off on the boat for a minute.
Then he will embark on the next ship passing through.
The highlight of Escher's whole journey was a stop at the Alhambra Palace in Spain. Escher was smitten again by the geometric shape of the Islamic patterning and all the wonderful tessellations throughout the palace. He spent days working at the palace.
But then it was time to return home.
Okay. Wait a minute.
Maritz presented a portfolio of shipping pictures to the captain of the shipping company as payment for its voyages. This long voyage proved to be a turning point in MC Escher's life and work. He left his conventional printmaking behind and became obsessed with the problems of dividing and tricks with perspective. When he got home, he wrote a letter to his brother, Viar, who was a professor of geology at Leiden University.
Okay, we need the tape on.
September 30th, 1936. Dear Brother Pierre, I have just returned from a most enjoyable journey. I have been reintroduced to my old interest in the geometric form. Using a grid, I am designing my own shapes to fit the plane. It remains an extremely absorbing activity, a real mania to which I have become addicted to, and sometimes find it sometimes hard to tear myself away. One problem I'm trying to solve is how to gain movement into my woodcut prints. I am sending along some drawings to show you how I am manipulating space and perspective. I wait to hear your comments. Your brother, Nault.
Maurits's brother did respond. Pierre was excited to see his new work. He sent Maurits several articles about crystallography. Maurits was delighted with his new mathematical and systematic approach. Along with his son George, he built many three-dimensional shapes to understand how to draw them on the two-dimensional page. George loved working with his father.
Over the next 5 years, the Escher family moved twice, and their third child, Jan, was born. Europe is now at war, but the Escher family seems relatively undisturbed.
Maurits started working on his most ambitious project yet. It was a 4-meter-long woodcut titled Metamorphosis 2. This remarkable project started with the word metamorphose, then moved to squares, merging into creatures. Lizards, bees, birds, fish, morphing into a town, chessboard, squares, and back into the word metamorphosis. It suggested a never-ending circle of life.
Years passed, and Escher was attracting the attention of mathematicians and philosophers. Many would write letters to him, and he would write lengthy letters back to them. One day...
Matt, have a look at this. These are the interviews that you did with the American journalist from the Life magazine and the one from the Time magazine.
Father, are you famous?
coming in from around the world. This was time-consuming for Escher because he printed each new order individually by hand.
Life was difficult for the Escher family. Mavericks was so busy. Yenna was responsible for the boys in the household. She was tired and anxious. Her health began to fail.
On both continents, MC Escher was asked to exhibit his pictures and do lectures about his work. People flocked to hear him speak. Most of his exhibitions were partially sold out before they even opened the doors to the public. This was wonderful, but it stopped him from exploring new projects. One day in frustration, he wrote a letter to his dear friend.
October 26, 1958. My dear friend Bob, my workload is overwhelming. But the more I try to keep up with my orders, it seems that I get farther away from completing them. This is so frustrating because I have a new idea and I can't find the time to try it. My idea is to try to produce a circular division on the plane. I get the feeling that I'm moving farther and farther away from work that could be a success with the public. But what should I do when this sort of problem fascinates me so much that I cannot leave it alone? There seems to be no answers. Give my best to your family. Your friend, Matt.
Escher's work was attracting the attention from the international world of science and mathematics. Caroline McGilvery was a professor of crystallography at the University of Amsterdam. She asked to use his drawings to illustrate a book about symmetry that she published. Many mathematical organizations sponsored exhibitions of Escher's work.
In 1960, Escher became interested in the concept of an endless staircase. This idea would lead to some of his most memorable work.
In 1962, MC Escher was admitted to a hospital. He needed to have an operation. That forced him to cancel his trip to North America. His health was getting worse, but that didn't stop him from working.
For 10 years, MC Escher was in and out of the hospital. His last woodcut, called Snakes, took him 6 months to complete. When he was too weak to work, he wrote letters to his family and friends.
On March 27, 1972, Morris Cornelius Escher died. 3 sons at his side.
The world lost a memorable artist that day.
His pictures fool our brains into thinking that water can run uphill.
That fish can morph into birds and that you can climb staircases forever.
MC Escher was a genius of imagination, a skilled graphic artist, but the key to many of his surprising effects is mathematics. He wrote to mathematics mathematicians and crystallographers, but he didn't seem to believe in himself that he was a mathematician. We know that was wrong. We know MC Escher was a self-taught mathematician. And this year, at Brooke High School, we have learned much from his work. In the Army. Salem played several roles. He was the captain of the Army, the captain of the shipping boat, and helped Beth and Annabella on prom. And was also helped out in the props department and was a soldier in the Army. Francis played the role as Arthur, the middle child for Moritz and Yetta. Jasper played the role as George, the oldest of the Escher children. The Life of MC Escher. Owen, Alex, Vienne, and myself played the roles as narrators. We told the story. Matthew Potsy played the role as MC Escher. Now I'll turn it over to Coral, the writer of the play, our teacher, and our director.